In May 2017, the government of the Philippines launched an offensive against the ISIS-affiliated groups that had taken over the city of Marawi. The battle lasted for 5 months and ended with over 1,000 killed and 370,000 displaced. Today, over 80% of them have returned, but 66,000 are still living in shelters, tents and host locations. Today, Marawi's old neighborhood is still a ghost town, and the whole of Mindanao remains under martial law, due to clashes still raging in various parts of the island. ISIS-affiliated groups have been weakened but are still active. Their threat is still lingering, not only as old graffiti on the abandoned houses of Marawi's ground zero. Among charred mosques and private buildings pockmarked by bullets and shrapnel, almost 1/3 of Marawi's 70 schools have been damaged or flattened down. This is what remains of one of the 20 schools heavily damaged during the Marawi siege. Out of 24,000 displaced pupils, only a small part has resumed regular classes. For 80% of the displaced pupils, schooling happens at home. 13-year-old Pau Pau lived in Ground Zero, and now she's part of a 20% of displaced children who are attending regular classes, allowing her to overcome the trauma of war.
During the siege, the bullets were flying inside the house. We used to lie on the floor as they hit all over the place. I was afraid as I didn't know how we were going to escape.
Almost 550 internally displaced students have been accepted at Angoyao Elementary School on the outskirts of Marawi. This number makes up more than 1/3 of all enrollments. Almost half of Pau Pau's 6th grade classmates have been displaced like her.
During the conflict, I was afraid that I might have to stop going to school because many schools got hit. School gives me an opportunity to learn and improve myself.
Angoyao School is part of an Education in Emergencies project implemented by the NGO Save the Children to support children affected by the conflict in the whole of Mindanao. Improving access to education is among the aims of the project funded by EU Humanitarian Aid.
We are providing a temporary learning space in 5 schools, basically to address the classroom requirement for the students so that they will be able to immediately kickstart their classes despite there is conflict happening. And then at the same time, we provided capacity building to the teachers in 10 schools.
Pau Pau lives in the Boganga temporary shelter that hosts 3,500 people. Her family has been moving from place to place since the beginning of the conflict, but having the school nearby was a game changer for them.
Education is very important because it's the only treasure we can offer to our children. And despite this, we cannot feed them all the time. At least they can go to school.
Over 50,000 internally displaced people are still living with relatives or in tents. We traveled to the other side of Marawi to see Serimanok Tent City. Here, financial constraints challenge families to pay for their children's education. This is why the EU has stepped in and is today almost the only donor in Mindanao for humanitarian assistance. The EU is spending half of its humanitarian budget on education in emergencies here in Mindanao. Why?
More than 120,000 children have been affected by this conflict. They are either out of school or at risk of dropping out of school because of the conflict and its consequences. Now, EU priority is to bring these children back to school and keep them in school. Because as we know, if they are not in school, there are many other problems that might happen to them.
Schools in conflict zones remain safe havens against child labor, early marriage and recruitment.